Hello, this is Dr. David A. Gaitros, Department of Computer Science at Florida State University, and I'd like to welcome you to my undergraduate lecture series on selected topics in computer science. You can find these videos and others at my YouTube channel at the URL listed below, or you can simply go to YouTube and search using Gaitros and FSU as keywords. Now on to the lecture. Today's topic is about vectors, and let me pull the example over here. Vector, standard template library in C++, as a sequence container representing arrays. Now what's the nice thing about vectors, unlike arrays, is it's easy to change their sizes. So we can actually grow them, we can shrink them, we can access different components of it. So if we look at this Excel spreadsheet and we see the array, this is the data down here, okay, and then this is the index value up here. I can actually put data items in here, 17, let's see, 56, and they're not technically ordered, although we could sort them if we want to. And I can push them on the back, I can pop them off the back, I can access individual cells. For instance, I can use the subscript and say go at the fifth element and put something like that. I can resize them and I can make them larger, like I could add 4 elements onto this just by saying add 4 elements, and it would do that, and it would add that to it. Now the other thing about vectors is that they have the ability to shrink and grow, but they don't do it every time you add an element. It's like a buffer. For instance, they'll allocate so many spaces, and then if you need more, they'll add to it. Very, very capable standard template library. I'd like to show you how it works. I'd like to actually write one here for you, and you'll bear with me a little bit. I'm going to stop typing for a little bit, or type in a lot of things, so you don't watch me just type in a lot of stuff all at once. So let me go ahead and put in the libraries up here for you, just to show you what's needed and explain them. You're going to need, in this case, we're going to do a string one, so we'll put in the string library. You're obviously going to need the vector library, that's obvious, but you're also going to need the iterator library, and the iterator library is there to help you go through the list, go backward and forwards, and use them in for loops. Okay, now let me go ahead and write a routine. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to write here. Put that. I'm going to write 2 functions. I'm going to write a function called populate the vector, and I'm going to pass in a vector of type string, and I'm going to pass in the address of it, MB. Yeah, move this using up, that will help out a little bit. Okay, there you go. And I'm going to write another one called print vector, and I'm going to show you how to use the iterator that actually goes through the vector. Let me go up and change my syntax area here, and it has the same parameters, MV. Okay, let's go up here and change that to a lowercase v. Now the definition of the vector itself, and I'll put that in a local variable inside the main routine, is I'm going to create a vector. And since it's a template, I've got to tell it what type. Okay, and so I'm going to say it's a string type. And now I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to go and call it name vector, because I'm going to store names. Okay. All right. And then the first thing I'm going to do is populate the vector. Now what I want to do here is I'm actually going to write a function to put the items in it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to write the routine, then I'll go through and I'll explain it. So let me pause this for a moment. Now here we are. So here's the routine, populate vector. I'm passing in the vector as a reference. That's the and sign right there. I'm going to call it MV temporarily. And here I've just got a for loop. I'm going to read in 10 strings, put it in ISTR, it's my temporary string. And this is the call to the vector itself. The vector is MV, and I'm going to call a function in that vector called pushback, which takes the string and puts it to the end of the vector itself. Okay, now being a vector, it always grows at the back end of it. Let's go up here and let's take out our hello world, and we will just say we'll call it populate vector, and we'll pass it name vector. Okay, let's go ahead and build that. I've done that. See if we got any errors. That looks good. Alright, let's run it. And it's going to ask us to enter 10 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. There we go. And we're done. Alright, now then, let's see if we can print that out. And then once we print it out, then we can actually play a few games with it. All right, let me write that. Now all I'm going to do in the print vector is I'm going to create an iterator, which is a very, very handy thing to know how to do, that actually allows us to go through each element. And there's actually a couple of ways to do this. I'm going to show you the classic C++ object-oriented way of doing it. So let me write that print vector, and I'll pause it, and we'll get right back to you. So here we're getting ready to write the print vector, and I wanted to talk to you about as I wrote it to kind of explain the code, and it helps to hear the explanation. I need an iterator. The iterator is a pointer that points inside the list that allows us to access each element individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to declare that I've got to say it's a vector, it's of type string, and associated with that is an iterator. Now, I've always liked these IDE platforms that help you look at the syntax and decide what functions to pick. This is very, very handy. We'll call it MI for my iterator. All right. So that's going to let us do it. I'm going to keep track of a counter. I'm going to print out the position of it. Okay, and I'm going to print out a little statement that says cout current vector list. Okay, and now I'm just going to start my my for loop, but let me go ahead and demonstrate something else. Let me show you how to print out the size of it. I just thought let's try that. The size of the vector is, and then we're going to make a function call to it, mv, which is our passed in vector, dot and size, and you'll see it pop right up there. So it tells us how many things are in it. Okay. Now the for loop to do is very simple itself. So for mi is equal to mv, which is our vector, dot the beginning of the list. So it's a pointer that points to the beginning of the list, not the top element, but to the address of the first element in the list. So the iterator is going to take on that value. While that iterator is less than the end of the list, okay, continue going, and then the mi++ actually increments to the next item on the list itself. So we're going to say cout, we're going to output the counter, add 1 to it. After we do that, put in a space, and then the asterisk mi. Remember the mi is a pointer. So to get the element at that place, I've got to put an asterisk in front of it. Go back to your pointers. Yeah. And I want to show you another way to do this. So let's see, let me go up here, populate, and I'm going to say print vector. Okay, name vector, and then we will put a period right there. And again, I'm going to go down and modify print vector a little bit to show you just a little slicker way to do this. So a few lines of code. So let me remind me to do that in a little bit. Let me build this, and it looks pretty good. Let me run it. Okay, enter in 10 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there we have it. You'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright. Now then, another way to do this. Let's go down to print vector. You'll notice that up here I declared the iterator itself. Okay, right there. I said that's the declaration of itself. Very straightforward, very obvious way to do it. And I put that there deliberately just to show you um, the, um, the more verbose way of doing it. There's a shortcut. Let me show you that. I'm going to take this out and you'll notice that MI went away. We don't know what it is. Well, in C++ 11 you have a thing called auto. So you can say auto and put it in front of it. What it does is it looks MI and it looks at the thing on the right side of the assignment statement. It says, what is that? What type is that? Well, obviously that's an iterator, so it makes MI that type. It does an automatic declaration. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. All right. So that is the print function. What I want to do now is just go back into the main routine, and I kind of want to show you just a few other things and vectors that are kind of handy to do, and then print them out. So let's go back up here. Okay, let's see what we can do right here. With print vector, I can do a pop back. Okay, name vector dot pop back, and that removes the pop back. And to show you what that looks like, we can print the vector out again. Okay, and let's go ahead and build that and run it. Build it and run. Okay, and we'll just put in the letters, and you'll see that you know, when I finish, it popped off the last one, the far one right. It popped off number 10. Not necessarily that I demonstrate all these, but I do kind of show you what they are. The assignment operator, we already showed you the plus plus right here for the in this for loop, how to increment to the next iterator. You can do an assignment operator, says vector, and we'll make this one a string, and we'll say it's another name vector. And you can do the assignment operator down here. You can say another name vector is equal to the name vector. Okay, so you can assign it, and you can also do comparisons. You can check to see if they're larger. Some of the things you can do is you can do what is called the capacity. Okay, so let's say cout capacity of the vector is, and so this is the most things you can put in, and it's a big number. All right, so name vector dot capacity. See capacity right there. Oops. We'll put that out, and we'll say, and then another one is max size of the vector is name vector, and we'll say max size. We'll show you what that looks like. And let's go ahead and build that. We'll say build and show you what those numbers look like. We'll run it, and we'll just enter just various strings. We don't care what they are, and I can even enter in more if I want to, and it's not going to matter. Alright, so the capacity of the vector, this one, the way it is done right now is 16. You'll notice I've only added 10 things. And what it does is it says, well, okay, well, I'm going to do 16 at a time. Probably on the, it's probably in order of 2. But see, the maximum size of the vector, that's pretty big. That's the most number of things you could put into it. It's quite a large vector. So that's the maximum size of the vector, and that's important if you're dealing with really large number of things. It's probably also based upon what type you're storing too. All right, well, let's go back up here and do a few other things. We can say name vector resize, and what I can do is I can grow it and I can shrink it. Now if I shrink it, if I say it's less than 10, it's actually going to lop some off the back end. but I can actually say, let me go ahead and say it's 25. The new size is 25. Now then, let me just leave that like it is, and let me go ahead and build it and run it and show you what happens. Build it and run it. And again, we're going to enter in 10 things. Okay. Now you'll see here that it. Let me print it off. Okay. Print vector, name vector, to show you what happens. All right. Let me build it again. It resized it, but you didn't see the results of it. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. Now, notice that I printed about. There's 10. Okay. The size, I popped one off, printed them out, so there's 9. Now the capacity is 16, and the max size is this very large number right here. But now I resized it right there, and now look what happens. It says, well, it's going to go out and print out 25. So whenever I resized it to 25, it actually added those elements on there. And if I were to print out the maximum size again, it would probably be a number larger than that. Let me do one other thing for you, and let me just show you that the once I've got this, I can say name vector, and let me go to subscript 3, and let me assign a value just to show you that you can do them in random order. You can say I'll just put Dr. G. Okay, and then print the vector out again. Name vector, and then we will build this, and we will run it. Alright, now then go up here, and there he is, the third element. Remember 0, 1, 2, 3, so it starts counting as 0, so that's the third element right there. Changed it. Well, this is a very, very short introduction to vectors. There are several other member functions that you can do, but this will get you started. This will get you using it. Just look up the specifications, and there's insert, and there's swap, and there's clear. There's all kinds of things you can do to the function once you kind of get past the initial syntax of it. Hope you enjoyed this. Look forward to doing another one of our standard template library discussions. Have a good day.